सर गुड इवनिंग। अकाउंट्स पेपर तो अच्छा ही होगा, मोर और लेस। पेपर टफ था कि इजी, हमने अपने स्टूडेंट्स को बोला था और उनका प्रिपरेशन बहुत हाई था। रहा बात, पेपर वॉज ट्रिकी। कुछ कुछ पॉइंट्स थे जहाँ जहाँ पे लोगों का काफ़ी सारा मिस्टेक्स होगा, अभी रियलाइज नहीं होता, वो बाद में रियलाइज होगा जब डिस्कस होता है। व्हाटएवर, इससे अपने को कोई मतलब नहीं है। अभी अपना मेन मोटो है कि इको अच्छा जाना चाहिए। व्हाटएवर, देखो कलकत्ता यूनिवर्सिटी में फर्स्ट ईयर में भी सबसे ज़्यादा सप्ली इको में ही रहा है, और थर्ड ईयर भी इको मैथ्स में अच्छे नंबर आते हैं, इको में बच्चा मार्क्स नहीं उठा पाता। प्रॉब्लम क्या आएगा तुम्हारे सामने कि तुम क्वेश्चन को पढ़ के समझ ही नहीं पाओगे। तुम्हारा ग्रुप भी तुमने अगर देखा होगा पिछले 3-4 टर्म का, तो क्वेश्चन का लैंग्वेज बहुत चेंज हुआ था, तो तुम्हारे को बहुत बड़ा दिक्कत होने वाला है। दूसरा, ये इको एक अलग लेवल का है। याद रखो एक चीज, आंसर का लेंथ डिसाइड नहीं करेगा तुम्हारा मार्क्स, आंसर का कंटेंट डिसाइड करेगा। 2 मार्क में अगर 5 लाइन भी लिखोगे ना और वो ढंग का लिखोगे तो मार्क्स मिल जाएगा, और 2 मार्क के लिए 2 पेज भी लिख दोगे और वो कुछ नहीं होगा ना तो मार्क्स नहीं देगा। पॉइंट्स प्रॉपर होने चाहिए, ग्राफ तुमको बनाना पड़ेगा या डेरिवेशन तो दिखाना पड़ेगा। चैप्टर 3 चैप्टर 4 टफेस्ट है, और सिलेबस भी बहुत बड़ा है, बहुत ज्यादा बड़ा है सिलेबस। तो इसके चलते क्या तुमको बहुत बड़े लेवल पे प्रिपरेशन का दरकार है ना। हमने बोला तो था कि इको में सजेशन नहीं देंगे, बट बच्चों का बहुत ज्यादा मैसेजेस और रिक्वेस्ट है कि सजेशन दे दीजिए दे दीजिए दे दीजिए। तो कुछ क्वेश्चंस है, देखो ये सजेशंस है, एक्सपेक्टेड पेपर आ भी सकता और नहीं भी आ सकता। हम कभी ये नहीं बोलते यही आएगा, ये हमारा रिसर्च है कि आना चाहिए। एंड आई डोंट कंपेयर माई सेल्फ विथ एनी ऑफ द टीचर्स इन द मार्केट। आई एम एन इंडिविजुअल, आई एम टीचिंग हियर। इट्स माई पर्सपेक्टिव, व्हाट शुड कम एंड व्हाट शुड नॉट। एंड आई डोंट वांट टू कमेंट ऑन एनीथिंग। ये सब चीज के लिए हम नहीं बने हैं, हम पढ़ाने के लिए और स्टूडेंट्स का हेल्प करने के लिए। नाउ व्हेन आई सी द पेपर, तुम लोग जब जाओगे कल एग्जाम देने, 11 से 1 है शायद तुम्हारा टाइम, आई डोंट नो, 2 घंटे का पेपर है। एग्जाम में सबसे पहले ग्रुप ए, बी और सी रहेगा। ग्रुप सी को ही अटेम्प्ट करना, क्योंकि वो सबसे इजीएस्ट होता है। ग्रुप सी 12 मार्क रहेगा, अगर थोड़ा ढंग से करोगे तो शायद कुछ हेल्प हो जाएगा। फिर ग्रुप ए में जाना, क्योंकि ग्रुप ए फिर 2-2 मार्क का है, तो 12 और 8 20 हो जाएगा, तो शायद तुम्हारे पास होने लायक तुम पोजीशन में आ जाओगे। फिर ग्रुप बी में जाके सबसे पहले मनी और इन्फ्लेशन वाला ही क्वेश्चन उठाना, 6 मार्क का। ये सारा करते करते तुम्हारा 1 आवर 10 मिनट्स 15 मिनट्स हो जाएगा। अगर ये प्रॉपर हो गया तो फिर 24 मार्क्स का जो चैप्टर 3 चैप्टर 4 का क्वेश्चन है, हो सकता है तुमको समझ में नहीं आया, तुम पैनिक कर गए तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा। पूरा पेपर 1 गो में पढ़ने का दरकार नहीं है। पूरा पेपर 1 गो में पढ़ोगे ना, डिमोटिवेट हो जाओगे। कुछ भी इधर उधर का आ गया ना, पैनिक कर दोगे। और दूसरा, तुम सोचते ना इस इको को रट के जाएंगे काम हो जाएगा, इसकी इको को रटने का नहीं है, ये इको समझने का चीज है। यू मस्ट नो हाउ टू राइट आंसर्स एंड हाउ द थिंग्स आर बीइंग डिराइव्ड, इसके बेसिस पे ज्यादा वो जरूरी है। नाउ क्रैश कोर्स था, लॉन्च हुआ, अच्छा गया, सबका बच्चा पढ़ भी लिया, कंप्लीट हो गया पूरा सिलेबस। एट द एंड हमको लगा तुम लोग के लिए भी करना चाहिए, तो कुछ क्वेश्चंस है हमारे पास। क्वेश्चंस के साथ साथ कुछ समझा भी देंगे कि उनको लिखना कैसे है, कैसे करना है, नहीं करना, उचित ध्यान रखना। सबसे पहले चैप्टर 1 2 मार्क का है। मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स का जब तुम लोग बात करते हो तो मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स का मतलब ही होता है कि सर जी इकोनॉमिक्स एट अ हायर लेवल। बेसिकली वी टॉक डोंट टॉक अबाउट इंडिविजुअल थिंग्स, इंडिविजुअल इनकम, इंडिविजुअल प्रोडक्ट और इंडिविजुअल डिमांड और इंडिविजुअल सप्लाई। वी टॉक अबाउट एग्रीगेट सप्लाई, एग्रीगेट डिमांड, एग्रीगेट नेशनल इनकम। दिस एवरीथिंग इज एग्रीगेट। बड़े लेवल पे जब बात होता है ना तो एग्रीगेट्स। Unemployment, when we talk about unemployment, inflation, we talk about macroeconomics. That is what. Micro means small and macro means large. We are dealing with the macroeconomic part in this particular subject. Now, macroeconomic part में why we need macroeconomics, that is the objectives of macroeconomics. Objectives of macroeconomics we need because to learn the problem of unemployment and inflation and how to control them. These are not covered in our microeconomics chapter. It is being covered in our macroeconomics. To understand all these, we need macroeconomics. That is what. Number two, sometimes decisions taken at micro level may not be rational at the macro level. So, suppose for example, a person wants to start a chemical manufacturing industry and he may earn a huge amount of profit from that particular industry. So at the micro level, he is thinking about himself. But because of that particular industry, it may happen that certain pollutants will be released in the environment and it may harm the society as a whole. Now, this particular part, that it will impact the society also, this is not being answered at the micro level. It is being answered at the macro level. So we need macroeconomics for that particular thing also. So anything can be rational at the micro level, but it may not be rational at the macro level. So for this particular thing also we need macroeconomics. And since it is a 2-mark question only, we don't need 10, 12 reasons, we need 2 or 3 reasons, nothing else. So just explain them. The second thing is that what is investment? Investment is basically when a person save a particular part of his income from consumption is your investment. And investment is basically saving when invested in the business creates investment. So it can be invested in inventory or fixed assets. Basically, addition to the capital stock of an economy is investment. When we are talking about the gross investment part, the total amount of investments made in the inventory and the fixed assets is basically your gross investment. And when we are talking about the net investment part, after deducting from the gross investment the depreciation part, we get the net investment. So net investment is equals to gross investment minus depreciation. That is our net investment. Now remember one thing, it will be a 2-mark question. Again write precisely and give the formula also. That gross investment includes the depreciation part, but in the net investment, since the capital goods are being used for the production of goods and services, so they are getting depleted. So we need an allowance for the depreciation. And after deducting that, we get the net investment part. Next is the stock and flow concept in macroeconomics. Stock, when we are talking about a stock concept, we say stock is something, a particular thing at a particular point of time. That is what stock is about. Capital as on this particular date is a month stock. It doesn't have any kind of time dimension like per day, per month, nothing like that. But when we are talking about flow concept, it has got a time dimension. Time dimension in the sense we can say salary per month, income per month, expenses per month, savings per month. These are what flow concept is all about. So while writing the differences between stock and flow concept, we must make a difference and we should give the example like this. And it will be more than enough for you people. Now this is your chapter 1, macroeconomics. I think things are very clear. I have suggested few topics that will cover your paper, I think, for tomorrow, 2 marks. Now coming to the national income part. National income, there comes basically 5 questions, 2 marks each. 2 questions with options generally come and 1 question compulsory. There is no option basically with that. Now, national income in itself is a very big topic, but you don't need to go through everything. Seeing the trend, the questions which can come are, what is national income? Basically, the final value of all goods and services produced by the residents of a country, whether within or outside the country, during any particular year is known as national income. The final value of all goods and services produced by the residents of the country operating within or outside the country is what national income is all about. Basically, national income includes the net factor income from abroad also. the imports and exports are being adjusted. When we are talking about domestic income, it is basically the total value of final value of all goods and services produced by the residents as well as non-residents of a country within the domestic barrier of a boundary of that particular country during any particular year is known as gross domestic product. Basically, now it doesn't include this net factor income from abroad. Now, since it doesn't include this net factor income, national income is always bigger than GDP or GDP. Now, domestic income is geographical concept and national income is an economic concept. Remember this thing also. These are the various differences you must know. Now, what the difference between gross domestic product and net domestic product? The basic difference between these two are basically the difference of depreciation. When the allowance for depreciation is being made while calculating the GDP, while calculating the NDP, net domestic product, we get NDP. Basically, the total value of final goods and services produced within the domestic boundary of a country by the residents and non-residents after deducting depreciation is what net domestic product is all about. Now, gross domestic product is clear, and gross national product. Gross national. Domestic, from domestic we are moving to the national. So domestic is within the country and national is at a larger scale. So when we include the NFI, net factor income from abroad, in the GDP, we get GNP basically. So GNP is bigger than GDP. NNP, net national product. Net national product again, after deducting depreciation and including the NFIA, we get the net national product. GDP at factor cost, if anyone asks, the total value of goods and services produced within the domestic boundary of a country measured at their factor cost is called GDP at factor cost. That is what it is all about. Now, while calculating national income, there comes a concept of nominal GDP and real GDP. Nominal GDP is basically measuring the GDP at the current year prices. That is what nominal GDP is all about. Nominal GDP is the monetary value of all the goods and final goods and services produced in an economy produced in a country during any particular year. When the total quantity of goods and services produced in an economy is multiplied by the current year prices, we get the nominal GDP. And when we are talking about the real GDP, basically the total value of goods and services, total quantity of goods and services which are being produced in a country is being multiplied by the base year prices, we get the real GDP. Base year means basically previous year prices. Since there may be a rise in the nominal GDP, but at a real level, in the real sense, there may not be any rise in the real GDP. For example, suppose in this particular year we have produced 10,000 units of a particular good, and the current price is 100 rupees. So 10,000 into 100 comes to 10 lakh rupees. So this is our nominal GDP. Now suppose in the base year we also produced 10,000 units only, but the base year price was 80 rupees. So previous year GDP was 10,000 into 80, it was 8 lakh. And this year nominal GDP is 10 lakh. So we can say that there is a rise of 20%, basically 25% GDP. But in the real sense, is it so that there has been any kind of growth? No. Because the total quantity of the goods remain the same. It was 10,000 in this year and 10,000 in the base year. So real GDP, basically there is no increase. So while making decision whether a country has developed or not, the real GDP comes into the picture. That is what. From this concept only we get the GDP deflator. The GDP deflator is basically calculating the GDP, basically calculating the inflation percentage of the nominal GDP. This is the formula is basically nominal GDP divided by real GDP into 100. This gives you the GDP deflator. It tells us how much our nominal GDP is rising due to a rise in prices in the current year. That is what they say. Now, from this example which I just quoted, it will be 10 lakh nominal GDP divided by 8 lakh real GDP into 100. So it will be 125%. That means right now our GDP, nominal GDP is 125% of the base year, and that 25% is basically attributed to the rise in the price level. That is what it is all about. Now, real GDP, nominal GDP, GDP deflator, both all are connected, so be prepared with that thing. National income, I have dealt with you people. GDP and factor cost, GDP, GNP and NNP, you people must have known by now. Can transfer earnings be included in the national income? Transfer earnings basically means when money is being transferred from one person to another as gift or remittance, whatever, from outside India or something like that. In that case, by tax or something, there is basically no production of goods and services. It's basically money is being flown from one person to another. My brother resides outside India. Sometimes he sends money to us. So we get money, but is it so that leads to extra production of goods and services? No. So there is basically no rise in the national income, no impact in national income due to transfer earning. So they are never included while calculating national incomes. And circular flow of money is basically circular flow of national income. We must know that one people is basically paying to the factors of production, the entrepreneur is paying to the factors of production. So at one moment he is spending money and the other sectors are earning money. The landowner gets the rent, the supplier gets the price for the raw material, the labor gets wages, and the capital gets interest basically. So these people get money. So one way the money is flowing out. By the use of all these factors of production, a good is being produced. Now this product will be sold by me. So in turn, the person who has received the money, they are going to buy the product. So one way they are getting the money, the other way they are again paying back the money. This is basically the circular flow of money. This is what we say operating cycle basically in FM. It starts and it again ends. So that is what circular flow of money is all about. Someone earns the income once and again he spends it. So the economy basically circulates the money. The more the circulation, the better the economy. It must flow again and again. So there will be some kind of an increase in GDP. What are the limitations of measuring national income? Basically, there are many limitations of measuring national income. Double counting. Sometimes many things are counted double basically. Example, you can see cloth. By cloth we manufacture shirts. So while calculating the GDP, the cloth is also included and the value of shirt is also included. It should be done on a value added basis so that there is no double counting. Number two, personal services. Housewives give personal services but they are not included in GDP. So the proper value of GDP is not there. All the output is basically not being sold because the farmers who grow crops, they themselves consume those crops. So they never come into the market. So we are never aware how much have been produced. Number four, many outputs are not being sold because there is no buyer for them. The seller has to keep the output with himself. In that case, again, that cannot be valued. Sometimes they are being measured at the market value. But measuring it at the market value doesn't make sense because it is not being accepted in the market. So measuring at the market price is again not correct. Then India is a very vast country. So to count each and every person's national income, basically production and contribution to national income is a very difficult task, formidable task. So it may not be possible to correctly estimate the national income. These are the things basically you need to know about national income. From this particular thing, I think 8 marks will be covered. Other videos will be uploaded subsequently if I get time to make it. Till then, all the best and thank you. Thanks a lot.